The hairy Wuthering Heights text.
Hairy. I like that you described it as hairy. It is. It's hair. She really had to look out for herself and for Catherine to make sure that they didn't end up destitute as well.
What the symbolism means with all of these shots that are placed in.
And Isabella's relationship is so important when talking about these things.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Besties in the Books podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Liz, and this is now a Wuthering Heights podcast, actually. So hopefully you like that. Here we are. This series has expanded to include so much. This is now our third episode. Just to catch you guys up, if you haven't been here for the journey, we had planned on doing one episode. Ha ha ha. Jokes on us. We had no
Sweet
idea.
Summer children. We were, honestly.
Literally. Ashley and I were talking about how we could have done our entire bonus series just on Wuthering Heights. You know, if you're new here.
We were like, it's going to be so simple and easy. Just cover a few classics. Keep it easy after the holidays. No.
Check. Yeah. Good luck. So, you know, if you're new here, obviously we are covering Wuthering Heights. I've said it so many times.
Yeah.
Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. So here we are. So what are we doing today? Because we've already done a reading guide for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Beginner's guide.
Beginner's guide for the newbies, including us. It's useful for everybody, though.
Brought in the expert, somebody who's read it a few times.
Novel Bakery. Go follow her, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did a deep dive on the book where we did compare it to the new movie that just came out, starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, just in case you haven't heard of it. Ha ha ha.
You also probably went to the movies thinking, I'm just going to go watch this movie and be done with it. And here you are listening to this podcast episode. So, like, relatable, right?
Yeah. And, and so this is the third episode where, so we deep dove the book. We compared it to the movie. We mentioned.
And the 1992 movie.
Yeah, a little bit. We sprinkled that in there a little bit. So what are we doing today?
What more should we have to say? Oh, well.
Well, after we watched the movie, we felt that it was safe to join the internet discussions because we weren't afraid of spoilers anymore. And what did we find? We found out that life is a battlefield, my friends.
Life is a highway.
Life is a highway. I'm going to write it all night
all
long.
the things. And love is a battlefield. Yeah.
Love is a battlefield. Yeah.
All the references.
Here we are, responding to all of the insane amount of conversation and critical discourse going on right now in the bookish community specifically, since that is the community we are a part of and can speak to. Romance book community also. Mm-hmm. And we need to respond to the conversations going on. We felt that it needed its own episode.
Yeah.
To address some of these important questions and possibly problematic or interesting or thought-provoking choices that Emerald Fennell made with her 2026 adaptation. And the very real implications of this discourse that is going on currently.
Yes. So we've been scouring the internet, guys, and not like it's hard. Because you know, probably before you saw the movie, things were already coming out, right? It's Wuthering Heights. It's waiting for you around every literal and figurative corner, not unlike Kathy's ghost. So haunt me then, we say. Bring it on.
Literally it is, though. Like, it's haunting us then. We're like living in... What did you say? We started this Wuthering Heights journey 2 months ago, and here we are.
Still in it. Adding more. Yeah. So it has taken on a new meaning because of this conversation getting huge, relevant, and all-consuming. And just in case you haven't pieced it together yet, this episode, hey, it's going to be full of spoilers, guys, for everything Wuthering Heights book and movie universe. So
you've been warned.
It's safe to say. See you later. If you can't join it for now, save it to your playlist, watch it later. And with that said, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcasts, including YouTube, we're there. And I had said at the beginning, welcome back to Besties in the Books podcast, because hey, hopefully you're coming back for more. And if you're new here, you can check out the other stuff. You can hang out for as long as you like. Nobody's kicking you out.
At this point, we'll be outside your window scratching it with sticks.
Not unlike Kathy's ghost. Okay?
Because that's where we're at.
So we thank you guys. We thank you for taking time out of your day and your book to come hang out with and see what our hot takes kind of are a bit of unpopular opinions, so it seems. And some of you guys can relate, and some of you feel like maybe you might not be able to say or think these things because of what the discourse is that's going on. So we're kind of just taking this opportunity to throw our hat into the ring here, because sometimes the internet is loud, right? And
so we have to be loud.
I mean, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, we've already had some people reach out and DM us just on basic, small story posts that we've made.
Yeah.
Addressing these issues. That they feel seen, and they're glad that we have what seems to be, in certain situations, an unpopular take.
Yeah.
So here,
that they don't feel like they can talk about, or is being discussed, and like, hey, I saw that. Did everybody miss it? Because some of that stuff is what we'll be discussing today. Yeah. And we also do want to say, of course, we are going to be talking about some unpopular opinions, hot takes, or maybe just like some questions we're posing to the crowd. We might not agree on things ever, and that's okay.
Ever. We will disagree with you all the time.
But like, there's gonna be movies and books that are so popular and everybody loves, and we're gonna pick apart and we're gonna roast and we're gonna have fun with it. And the same thing goes for things that we love, and we roast and make fun of the things that we love all the time too. And you're gonna not like things that we like, and it's okay. But some of these things we really, really especially need to address right now that are problematic in other ways that aren't so obvious, insidiously. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some serious topics. So they can be hard to discuss, and we don't have all the answers. And that's the point of this, is to pose the questions to you all to perhaps help look at things in a different way, or, help the conversation get opened up to begin with. And maybe even you guys can come back at us and show us something that we missed too.
Yeah.
That's what this is about.
We're open to it. Yeah. So to ease us into this convo, let's start off with a little bit of fun facts about Wuthering Heights. Much like the last episode. Gotta gently ease you guys into the boiling water. So.
What do you got?
Well, it's making all the people cringe, go nuts. It's crazy. We're seeing it everywhere. The hairy Wuthering Heights text.
Hairy. I like that you describe it as hairy. It is. It's hair.
But
hairy just makes it seem different.
In the opening scene.
Yeah.
So here I was with Liz thinking and watching the movie. And I'm like, oh, dude. So I love this copy, right? Who's the artist? R. Toledo of this copy with like the emo guy on the back, Catherine and Heathcliff, right? So I love this copy. And when I was seeing it go on screen, I was like, ooh, it's kind of that vibe. And Liz was like, well, did you know that the hair in that titling with Wuthering Heights is stop animation, and it was used with hair from Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
But it is
That's
actually,
the rumor,
it's
and
not...
the urban legend we're going to be continuing on.
Yeah.
Spreading. The rumor we're going to spread.
Well, yeah, because people were wondering if it was like, if it was just AI, CGI, whatever, yes. And it was like, no, that's legit stop animation put together in the opening sequence. And supposedly, rumor has it that, yes, it's their real hair.
Wow.
And that is an ode to Nelly Dean twining their hair together at the end of the book. So it does tie in to the book as well.
There you go.
So there you go. Woo! It's exciting. I like it. True or not true, it's still cool.
Yeah. But I do like that this edition of the book came out much before. You had it long before the movie.
Yeah, I looked.
It's a vibe.
I looked because I got it from my local bookstore, Eureka Books, and because they also had Jane Eyre. I have Jane Eyre in that style as well. And I did look at the back because it has like the Eureka Books sticker, and I want to say I bought it in 2024.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
A couple years.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But you got yours at Barnes & Noble, right? So it's like they have them kind of
now
everywhere.
it's out everywhere.
Yeah.
This edition was published in 2009.
Oh, wow. It's been out for a while?
If that is
cover?
correct.
Huh.
It says this edition, and wouldn't that be the entire edition?
Yeah, you'd think so. Crazy.
2009. Vibes. Same vibes.
Essentially, the way that this episode's going to go is we broke it down into, some of the arguments we've been hearing on the internet, in the book community, and just things in general from critics of the movie, etc. And we're just going to go line by line and address them. Okay, so we're going to start off with the 6'5" elephant in the room that everyone has been talking about, because we have to address it first. We have to talk about it, get it out in the open, because quite frankly, it will likely influence the rest of our conversation. Okay, so the casting of Jacob Elordi, a white man, as Heathcliff's character. Okay. So, was this an intentional choice by the director and the producers, or was this an oversight, a blind spot, an intentionally racist decision? Okay?
Okay.
I feel like that's the question that we're posing. Also, it's important to note that Edgar Linton, on the flip side of this, was cast as Shahzad Latif, who I might be saying these names wrong. I apologize in advance if that is the case, who is of Pakistani descent. And he was explicitly a white person in the book as well. So we had some casting of different races, obviously, than what is true to the text. We'll talk a little bit more about Nelly's character in a future little segment as well. So we're not overlooking that. We just haven't gotten to it yet. Okay, so these are the questions that we're posing to the group. We're going to give you guys some info, some background info about Emerald Fennell herself, and then also about Emily Brontë, her life and her family, just to kind of try to create like a full picture of perhaps why these choices were made, or just trying to fill in some blanks, because really we don't know.
Right.
No one knows.
All of us can only speculate at this point.
Yep.
With those decisions that were made. So we're going to throw in some speculative thoughts here.
Just open up the combo.
Yeah.
Okay, so basics about Emerald Fennell as a person / filmmaker. Okay, she's an English actress, filmmaker, and writer. Her parents are a jewelry designer and a writer, so she comes from from what I could tell, just doing basic research, fairly wealthy background. She went to Oxford University. She got a degree in English literature. Something else that I thought was kind of important to bring to the conversation that I actually knew prior to this going into it, because I was a big fan of this movie, is she wrote and directed a movie called Promising Young Woman in 2020 that I didn't realize this part, but she actually won Best Original Screenplay Academy Award for. And Margot Robbie helped to produce that as well, which I also did not know. That's a horror thriller with strong feminist themes and tones that actually holds a 90% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. So, interesting.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, so I definitely went into watching Wuthering Heights, Wuthering Heights in quotations, with a certain idea about where Emerald Fennell might be coming from, having seen this previous work. Okay, just to talk a little bit about Emily Brontë in relation to her exposure to what we think is really important, the slave trade, and her dad being involved in the abolitionist movement. This seems like it would have greatly influenced her writing style and the themes that she was trying to get into with Wuthering Heights. So Emily Bronte's father, the Reverend Patrick Bronte, was a known abolitionist who supported the complete abolition of the slave trade in Britain at the time. He was also a progressive, supporting Catholic emancipation, opposing capital punishment, and campaigning for public health improvements. So this is kind of like the environment that she was growing up in, but we do know also, not unlike maybe some characters that she was writing about, that he perhaps wasn't the nicest guy.
Yeah.
So we have those two things kind of coinciding at the same time. Some other important things to note. So Wuthering Heights was published in 1847. So by that time, slavery had been abolished in the British Empire, but it was still in existence in the United States and other parts of the world. So the British slave trade was abolished in 1807, and it was abolished in the British colonies in 1834. So we're looking at The book came out in 1847 in the early Victorian era, but it was set earlier with the story beginning around 1771 to 1773. So the backstory of the character Heathcliff is deeply connected to Liverpool, which is at that time a major slave trading port. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we know that. So, I mean, you can piece 1 and 2 together, but when Emily Brontë published this book, slavery was still very much a topic of public debate and was still occurring in the United States until 1865. So, themes of the novel, scholars would argue that Wuthering Heights reflects the brutal, hierarchical, and often violent nature of slave-holding societies. So, these are all important tie-ins. 100%. So the reason why we felt like it was really important, obviously, to note all of these things was because this was probably very relevant to the perspective of writing her characters.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Especially one like Heathcliff, right? Okay, so to not even read between the lines, but go to the text, what do we know about Heathcliff? So I just pulled some like quotes about how he's described. He's described as a dark-skinned, these are actual direct quotes, okay? A dark-skinned gypsy in aspect, in dress, and manners a gentleman. So that's from Lockwood's perspective in chapter 4. He's called a gypsy brat by Nelly.
Although the usage of the term gypsy is still frequently encountered within the English language, it has become increasingly offensive because of the negative stereotypes associated with that term. It is sometimes used as a neutral or positive self-descriptor, but it is recommended that those who are not self-descript as Roma use the term Roma instead of gypsy.
By Mr. Linton, a little lascar, I think that's how you say that.
The usage of the word lascar is considered a historically loaded and often negative term, originally referring to South Asian, Arab, or Eastern African sailors of European ships. While it began as a functional job title, it became derogatory and oftentimes used as a slur to enforce racial, religious, and class differences by characterizing sailors as inferior, dirty, and cheap labor.
Or an American or Spanish castaway. He's described as dark-skinned with black eyes. So there's many descriptions of him. So for anyone who doesn't know, I just Googled it. Lascar refers to Indian or Southeast Asian sailors, suggesting South Asian heritage. So gypsy highlights dark skin and foreignness, but in a 19th century context. It's alluded to that he comes from Liverpool, where he gets picked up. And if he was brought from Liverpool, that was a hub for the slave trade.
Yeah.
Suggesting that he was of African descent. But these are all what we think to be intentionally ambiguous descriptions by Emily Brontë. So there's the information.
Yeah.
We feel like that's all we can really do, like as people who haven't studied this for, 10,000 years, to try to just like piece together between the lines.
Well, I think people have. It's been up for debate and discussion since the book was published. And I think the best takeaway from the book text is that it is intentionally ambiguous to maybe adjust it and fit it into the time and social issues that are going on with the person that's reading it.
Yeah.
To stand the test of time, essentially.
Totally.
And not that it doesn't now at all. But just to be able to adapt it. Different countries having different types of ethnicities in slavery. So that can be seen across all different continents. Right?
So it's like, I think with pretty much everyone could agree that Heathcliff is supposed to represent the other, whatever that means. And what you're saying is, depending on the time in history, the country, the geographical location, that can mean many different things. Yeah,
and she probably saw that. I'm guessing, obviously, we're speculating, but based off of the history that you've told us of Emily's experience, Emily Bronte's experience, is that it can fit so many different people of color.
Yeah. So do we necessarily think that casting Jacob Elordi as a white person was the right choice? Probably not.
No.
But that being said, we also don't know exactly who or what he was meant to look like specifically. Because
this is a time in history when to have anything other than white skin. And there's a speculation going around from the book and the movie that he was actually fathered by Earnshaw.
Yeah,
which would make him a mixed race. Mm-hmm. And historically and currently, we know how that can also go for people. Mm-hmm. But still, it goes back to Elordi. Is he the right character to cast for that? The right person to cast for that character?
I think that, I mean, by casting him, I mean, this is like it's a two-sided thing, because it's like, by casting Elordi, you are erasing the descriptions of a dark-skinned gypsy.
Yes.
Or, you know, it's dark-skinned, black eyes. Like, yeah, we're definitely erasing that aspect from the film, which can be seen as very irresponsible.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, we've talked about now the discussions that are arising because of the fact that that was changed.
Yeah.
So, you know, take without what you will. And then also, I think it is important to note, too, like what Ashley was saying before, that there are, not just if he was fathered by Earnshaw in secret, but, I mean, he could be of mixed race in general, which might make it, because we talked about how he leaves to gain his, you know, ambiguous
Nobody knows
riches.
how he gains his wealth.
No. So we don't know how he gains his wealth, but he comes back. So we're sitting here wondering, okay, once he leaves their immediate area and is able to go outside, what if he is of mixed race and he's white passing enough?
Yeah.
To gain wealth elsewhere and then be able to bring it back, even though in certain areas he might be discriminated against. It's complicated.
It's complicated, and that would be the only way to make sense in my brain, you know, for that to have happened. It's like, how can he get it? If not leaving the places that in close proximity that people know his history, even if he's white passing. So it doesn't matter how far you rise above, you can't. You're stuck. So if he goes outside and comes back in. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different...
There's a lot. It's not black and white easy to like point out, I think. It's a lot to discuss.
And I think that, yeah, I mean, the fact that Elordi was cast really brings up this issue of race and representation in a really strong way.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
You know, I feel like in a way that, you know, obviously Emily Brontë wanted it to be addressed back then, and we're having that discussion right now.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's also important.
It's important to get the people talking too. So the question that you posed earlier, exactly we say again. Was Emerald Fennell intentionally casting Elordi to encourage racial discussion? Is that too presumptuous to think? Was it just a straight up oversight? Was it fanfic casting? Was it a blind spot? It's hard to believe it's a blind spot.
With this going through so many hands.
With what we just heard of her background, with how many people were involved in the project that were also involved in other projects that have such heavy themes, with people we know going through sensitivity screening, like all of those things. It feels like it has to be intentional. And again, maybe I'm like reading too much into it. Maybe it is as simple as it was a racist decision. Because it could be. But it's getting us talking, and I do think that that's important. Whether that was intentional or not, it remains to be seen. We wouldn't know. We wouldn't know the answer to all of these questions we're discussing right now without going back in time and hearing the decisions that were made behind closed doors, right?
Yeah. But I think that, you know, largely having the discussion about it allows this text to be translated in different ways through time. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Yeah. So we have Edgar Linton as well on the flip side. So he is of Pakistani descent. His name is Shahzid Latif. So he is the one who plays Edgar Linton. So why was that choice then made? So Edgar Linton is, you know, in the movie a fabrics dealer who made his fortune in velvets, you know. So we have the drama that, you know, and beautiful art that comes within that. But that choice also seems intentional, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, because it's a direct, like, Edgar is described as being blonde-haired and blue-eyed in the book.
Yeah.
So that seems obviously intentional as well. Otherwise, if they wanted to stick true to the text, they would have cast Heathcliff with darker skin, and they would have cast Edgar as white with blue eyes and blonde hair.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that wasn't for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, and so...
Is it something like the way Heathcliff is portrayed as such a villain? Taking the time to remove the person of color of being the villain. And allowing Edgar Linton to be a little bit of the knight in shining armor. Even though it's not like, that's diluting down the storyline because that's not what it is. But like, you know, he has the riches. He has the comfortability. He's safe. He's the safe option. As opposed to what dialogue and kind of perception was going on of a person of color, like through Nelly's eyes, of a brute, as they call him.
But to play devil's advocate then in this case, you know, by casting Jacob Elordi as Heathcliff in this movie adaptation that does not portray him as the abusive brute, then you are making him the quote unquote white knight.
Yeah, but it's still a lot of people took it away as just a villain though.
Yeah, which
So,
is interesting.
Then it's like that's a hard situation in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something to think about. We don't, like we said, we don't have the answers. It's just like things that we need to be discussing. Why were these choices made?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know.
So speaking of, guys, we are seeing a specific point of view with this movie adaptation or lack thereof. So in the books, just to remind you, we are getting a lot of this is almost hearsay from Nelly. And 18 years later, roughly. So did Fennell eliminate Lockwood and Nelly as the narrators, and why? Okay, well, yes, it was eliminated. And why? Is this adaptation of this story more of an unbiased, other than, of course, the screenwriters and Fennell's point of view, but like, is this possibly a take on what could the story have really been without the inherent bias that is going on of the people around them? People are going to form opinions. And she did. And she admittedly is so in the book. Already formed an opinion on Heathcliff the very moment. It's natural. That's human nature. And then, of course, with all the socio and economical issues of the time, having those opinions. So is this maybe perhaps the part of the love story and what maybe transpired? Because Nelly, also an unreliable narrator, might manipulate the story a little bit to make sure she's looking good and is in good light with this Lockwood guy as she's telling the story. So,
well, and Lockwood is going to impart his own biases on it as well. Like, that's the thing, is like, you can't not do that. And so by taking Lockwood and Nelly away as the narrators, we're removing those inherent biases, but then Fennell is, you know, basically imparting her own biases onto the narration of the story as
because
well.
She's filling in the blanks. She's saying this is what could have gone on. This is maybe the unfiltered version.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've heard it said, like, on some reels and things like that Emerald Fennell actually became the Nelly or the Lockwood.
Right, yeah. Because that's intentionally done differently than the book. Because the book is actually profound and impactful and groundbreaking. It wasn't the first multiple point of views and timeline hopping by any means, but it was one of the biggest ones, the biggest impact. That why we are reading Wuthering Heights to this day, even in inside reading in school, is because the way that she does the dual types of narration and point of view switching and timeline hopping is expertly done, where it's like, well, why wouldn't you put that in the movie? Because it's already been done a lot. 35 adaptations, guys.
Yeah, so we just have to ask ourselves, like, okay, what was the point of that? Why are we not seeing things through Nelly's eyes necessarily, or Lockwood's perspective necessarily? Like, those were also choices.
Yeah.
You know, it's also important to say, like we were talking about a little while ago, so in the book, Nelly is an English white woman. Who in the movie is portrayed by the Vietnamese American actress Hong Chow. Again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. So again, you know, we've been hearing arguments that, okay, so the only woman of color that's cast in this movie is now being portrayed as a quote unquote villain. if you listen to our previous deep dive episode, neither of us agree with the fact that she's actually a villain.
Yeah.
We think that Nelly was doing the best that she could with her station in life and her options presented to her being in this crazy situation. And at the end of the day, she really had to look out for herself and for Catherine to make sure that they didn't end up destitute as well.
Which is the same thing Catherine did, which is the same thing a lot of characters are doing and people in that time.
Right. But again, we have to ask the question, like, why are we getting these changes in race?
Mm-hmm.
Why was that done?
Why are we getting these flippings?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So these are just questions that we find ourselves having to ask when we're like watching it and critically trying to like pick that apart.
So Nelly as a character for me within this movie, I actually felt like her story was extremely profound and important to tell. And I think a lot of it is getting brushed over from the stuff that I'm hearing about just kind of villainizing that character. And first of all the characters are problematic and tragic and flawed. And it's kind of like, it's people, right? It's people. So what station are they given in life, like you said? So telling her story, it's so, maybe it's not getting taken away because she's not on screen. It doesn't happen very much. It's quick, but it's there and it's intentional, like you said. We see Nelly sitting in that room with the other people that are working for the house. And she's saying, basically, it's like kind of all mixed in, right? She's saying that she's there as a friend, a companion for Catherine. Mm-hmm. She's not paid. Her father was a lord who passed away. She's basically
getting like room and board.
Yeah. And then the servant says, well, just because your father's a lord does not make you a lady. And all she could do in that moment to fight against this was knock over the glass,
Yeah.
So it sets us up for later. Mm-hmm. So we have that knowing, and we need to try to remember it, knowing when she makes the decision, and it feels like that could be, that's extremely, like, that could very quite possibly be what happened if this was like a real story of Nelly kind of twisting the narrative a little bit by being like, oh no, I knew Heathcliff was like there. And I'm like, oh no, don't say more, But instead having her be like, oh no, Catherine's spiraling. I'm taking care of this drunkard. Mm-hmm. I might be on the streets too. Yeah. What am I going to do? She's not even being paid in the movie, the movie version. So it's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to just be like, let me just get rid of him for a minute. Or let me like drop him down a peg, kind of like she did with the servant. Drop her down a peg. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily making the decision for Catherine. At the end of the day, they're all adults in this. But like, yeah, it's hard for me to believe that she's a villain. And I feel like that was an opportunity by the directors and screenwriters to make sure that female story is told. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it made her like a more well-rounded character, I thought. It gave her like more behind the scenes of what might have been happening in her own life.
Mm-hmm. And it addresses racism and classism and the female
lot in life
station
at that point in time.
Now, does that give it a pass for taking away that voice for Heathcliff? No, it doesn't give it a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is a different way to still address some of these issues. It's being overlooked. And I think that's the part that makes me confused on some of the stuff that I'm seeing. And just the villainization of Nelly, not even by the movie. The movie, I don't think, is trying to villainize her when we have... It would be a different case if she just was being evil. Mm-hmm. Like, we would know the difference. But we see her story, even though it's small glimpses, it's still there. And we see her love of Catherine. You were even wondering if maybe Nelly is in love with Catherine too. Oh no. And I think it's like, it doesn't matter here or there, but at the end of the day, it's just you feel for this person that you're connected with.
Well, it could also be a possibility. I think that is important to know because we don't really know.
Right.
Yeah, like it could be a friendship playing out. It could be literally just a selfish self-preservation thing.
Yeah, or like you dumb bee, you're not going to go live a life of luxury. Oh no, your golden shoes fit too tight, right? Like as you say.
Yeah. Or it could be a love interest thing, but that wouldn't have been allowed or, you wouldn't be able to be your true self. So it could be a number of different things.
Right.
I felt like I appreciated what they did with her character. I feel like it could be misinterpreted as like mean girl behavior, but that's to completely separate her behavior from the social context in which it exists.
Yeah, and we're given that piece of her story.
Yeah.
Clear as day, right on the screen.
Yeah.
We're seeing it. Even though it's quick, we're seeing it. There's a reason why at one point there was a bit of a montage of following Nelly around.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So to just break it down to, they cast her and made her a villain.
That seems oversimplified.
Mm-hmm. It's forgetting and negating the entire part of that was intentionally placed in there.
I think what it did was so, you know, it didn't really click in my head that Nelly could be a biased, unreliable narrator until we were talking with Rebecca over at Novel Bakery during our bonus reading guide mini episode, because I kind of it was my first read, so I was kind of just like taking it at face value. Like, this is the information we're getting, this is what's happening. And then once she said that, something kind of clicked for me, and I was like, okay, I think by making it obvious that the person telling the story in the book had her own agenda, life, circumstances, etc., she made it very obvious that could have swayed the narration in the book.
Yeah, what Fennell did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that made Nelly a villain. Right. I feel like it made Nelly a person.
Yes.
And that is, you can't tell a story as a person without bringing your own biases and opinion to the table, even if you're doing your absolute best not to. And I think that's what came across really well in the movie. And to make her a villain is to oversimplify it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's putting people in boxes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and I feel like it was really useful because maybe now if someone goes into reading the book, they'll go into it with that perspective of like, oh no, Nelly's a person, like with her own agenda. She's a person with her own history. Her telling the story doesn't necessarily mean that everything that she's saying is true. That doesn't mean she's lying, but truth is a subjective thing, and we all know that.
Yeah. What we're seeing on screen could very well be what is actually happening, and this is somebody's version of the story, because you got to remember, Nelly's not there experience every single moment, even between Heathcliff and Catherine.
Exactly.
Not by a long shot.
She's piecing it together.
And also, we have the perspective of Nelly in the book. Like, I know we're mostly talking about the movie today, but like, you have the perspective of Nelly. Think about it. As a whole, we're getting told her perspective from her, 18 plus years later, after Heathcliff is descended into madness and right before he dies. Like, we're seeing the craziest of the craziest. So how much does time, I gave Liz this example. You find out your neighbor's a serial killer, and then everything that they've ever done has been, or everything you wondered about. Oh, I wonder if that dead cat that I saw on the street was them, not just like some random like cat death, So it's
a
kind
hindsight
of
is
like,
2020.
Yeah, and it's kind of, hindsight's 2020, kind of like trying to justify and like, oh, I always knew, even if you didn't. So like, he's become this terrible person. So to her, relaying this story to Lockwood, it's manipulating a little bit, and it has a biased effect on you, even with other characters and people in her life, like Isabella, like Earnshaw, like literally anybody she talks about. There's biases placed on every single person, because we as people, not one of us has everybody that thinks there's a different version of us walking around in everybody's heads.
Yeah. 100%.
What you know of yourself and who you are, someone down the street is going to think you're a totally different person than that. They don't know you all the way as you can know yourself. So
and
that
even,
has an inherent bias.
And even knowing yourself, you're going to miss things too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think also it's like we have to remember that, Nelly, whether in the book or the movie, probably to a certain degree, is like thinking about Catherine, like, you have the privilege to mess up your own life because of love.
Yeah.
And so that must, to some degree, be frustrating. Whether it's a class issue, a race issue, a combination of both.
Yeah.
she's, to me, that's what I sit there and I feel like that was made pretty obvious in the movie where it's like, girl,
Yeah.
you have everything being, yeah, okay, you had a bit of a hard childhood for sure, because obviously your dad issues, and then the book, dad and brother issues, right?
Yeah.
This is your escape hatch. This is your stable ticket out, and you're going to squander it for what could be perceived as a silly reason.
Yeah. Totally.
And so I feel like that's also, like, how could you not bring that bias to the table?
Yeah.
So I don't think that makes her a villain.
I think, talking this out with you right now, because we haven't even, like, talked about that part of it, doing that intentionally with Nelly's character on screen helped that make it more clear than the book could, because it's unless you're talking it out with people, if you're reading this book alone by yourself, you might not come to the conclusion that she's an unreliable narrator and has her own inherent bias and her own back to watch out for.
Totally.
And then seeing it on the screen the way that it did, to me, that's why it's like, oh, it's not a villain. Oh, I can see how the storyline could have been manipulated. And maybe this is the version that could have been a little more accurate. Possibly. It's someone's rendition. Obviously, like we said, the screenwriter's bias, but nonetheless, a different take.
Why she chose to cast the person she did, that's still up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unknown.
Yep.
So, okay, just building off of that, do we feel like Fennell missed the major themes that Bronte was discussing? So, did she overlook class, race, obviously, specifically like women's issues having to do with, their freedoms, we can say, or, ability to move around society? Do you feel like she missed generational trauma by skipping the second part of, the book?
Class, no, I don't think she missed that.
No, that was pretty much
obvious.
drilled into every aspect of this movie. Like, I mean, even just, like I told Ashley right when the movie started, I was just like, the difference between the two estates, that within itself.
Yeah.
That was, it's like Ashley and I talked a lot about how that reminded us a lot of The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Like, the juxtaposition of the two estates was done very well.
Yeah.
I thought. So the class... I think that the class discussion was pretty right in your face.
Yeah. I do think without casting him as a race that has dealt with oppression, it would probably be hard for someone not familiar with the text to not understand why Heathcliff can't do what he needs to do as a person. Like, why can't he do better for himself? Like, why can't he rise above his class if he's a white man?
Yeah, if he's like an able-bodied, tall, good-looking white guy, like, why can't he make a life for himself? Especially under Earnshaw, right, who isn't ruined until later.
Yeah. He descends into servitude, essentially. But other than that, it's hard. I think it would be hard for somebody to grasp that fully.
Well, it adds a completely different, it adds a completely different element to the story. Especially if it's existing within this world where they live very nearby, a slave trading port, for example, right? And this is a huge part of society that they are living in and dealing with day in and day out. It does take a huge element.
Yeah, it does take a huge element out. Does she put it back in and place it on other characters? Yes. The question is that enough?
Or is it responsible?
Is it responsible?
Yeah. So I think, class was, hammered into every aspect of this movie. I feel like race, not enough.
Not enough.
I think sex or, the female's plight, if you will, the feminist theory aspect of this movie was done extremely well.
I think that also, after hearing you describe it the way it is for Young Promising Woman, being of heavy feminist themes.
Promising Young Woman.
Yeah, sorry. Promising Young Woman. It makes me feel like, she's taking the feminist themes within Wuthering Heights and making sure those stories are told through different characters as well. So like, what was the experience of someone of Asian descent who was a female of the time? What would their experience be like? We'll talk about Isabella and her experience in her lot that she's been given in life. And
then
so I
Catherine
think that
as
is more of the focus for that director.
Which doesn't make it right, because so I feel like that needs to be said. Like, I feel like that's why it's just so, it's almost kind of like frustrating to have this conversation, because I feel like it's like you're nailing the feminist piece, in my opinion. You're nailing the class piece. But those things do not exist outside of race.
Yeah.
So by picking and choosing the racial discussion that you're having, it's like, what's going on there?
Well, why can't we have both? Why can't we have it all?
Yeah. We could.
Yeah.
But that was a deliberate choice not to.
That's what we're saying at the beginning. Is like, it has to be a deliberate choice, and why? And does that even make it okay?
Yeah. Or is it just an irresponsible choice?
Yeah.
Regardless, do we take it?
Is it a rage baiting choice?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I don't remember if I discussed it in the beginning, the very first episode we did with the deep dive, but like kind of like our hope, not for the race rage baiting, but like just in general, the kind of hype that we saw with the trailer being all sex and things like that. Are they rage baiting us? And then it's going to be like, so well done, right? So that kind of situation with people know there's, that's how you get clout on the internet, right? You rage bait people. So is that what they're doing? But yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know if these choices weren't made intentionally to have, so that we would have these discussions, or
to have these discussions, or to rile the people up.
Yeah, exactly.
And we take the bait. But it's also good. And even if they didn't, here's the thing. Even if they didn't intentionally get us to talk about it and discuss these themes because they're important, we did. So haha. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, even if they didn't intend it and they just want to make the people upset, because that's possible. But hey, we're talking about it. And that's why we all need to come together as a group and discuss these things as best that we can with what we're given.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's like, did they just cast Jacob Elordi because they knew that it would sell the movie big time?
Yeah. And so it's just like such a bigger, everything we're talking about goes so big and so much harder than we can even have time to discuss, or education to discuss, honestly. But it's like, okay, because of all of the drama, how many people are reading it for the first time? Not because of the drama. We were already going to do it because it was going to be a movie. So it was pre-drama. But nonetheless, how many of us read it because, oh my gosh, it's what all the people are talking about?
Yeah, and this movie's coming out. How cool. Let's read it.
Because so many movies just get put out, brushed under the rug. Yeah. People move on. That are book adaptations. This one is really getting people talking. So how many people are picking up a book for the first time since high school? Or rereading it again?
Good luck. If
Talking
this one's your first
about,
one since high school.
I know, tough crowd. But because it's a doozy. But how important all these themes are, and if maybe I can hope that at least is the an intention to get the people to read more and pick it up, to inspire people, because we kind of touched really close on, if they made this movie adaptation exactly as like the 1992 is, but upgraded it, a little bit, follow the same timeline, would it be getting the people going? Would it be inspiring people to read it? Because it's talked about on such a grand scale, reasons for better or worse though,
Yeah.
So that's something, it's just something to think about. Crazy.
Well, it's a provocative text that's in many ways left open to interpretation intentionally by the author.
And that's what the movie's doing. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's a both and situation. We could see how it's problematic, but yet in other ways positive, because it does get people having conversations and reading the book and diving deeper into it.
Yeah.
So I guess our answer to that would be, yes, class and sex was highly examined. Race, not as much as it should have been. And that is a flaw.
Yeah.
For sure. The generational trauma bit, we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but we'll reiterate that here. I mean, I think, and I think that you think too, that it was actually handled pretty well, given the relationship between Earnshaw and Kathy and Heathcliff without having to delve into the second generation of people.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that we had the time.
Yeah.
To do that justice.
Yeah, exactly. So did it do a generational trauma justice? No, not fully, but it's really in the second half that'll get you of the book. Mm-hmm. So,
well, yeah, and how would that translate into film? Mm-hmm. I feel like, yeah, you could do it for sure.
Yeah.
But it would be a different adaptation. Mm-hmm. It would be a completely different thing. It would have to be a very long movie, or it'd have to be 2 parts. Yeah. You'd have to handle it very differently.
Yeah.
I thought that the generational trauma bit was made to be pretty obvious with how things went on between Kathy and her dad.
Yeah.
Kathy and Heathcliff and
because they merged those
Earnshaw.
two characters
Yeah,
together.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I felt like that made a whole lot of sense to me.
It's kind of like, obviously, it's obvious what would happen.
So I feel like a lot of the symbolism, a lot of the kind of physical manifestation of a lot of the themes that Bronte was trying to convey, Emerald Fennell did do really well.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're seeing it being looked over time and time again as like frivolous,
grotesque for no reason.
Yeah, meaningless.
Shock value. I saw a lot of people compare it to like Wattpad, and there's another word. There's another platform. But basically, they're just Wattpad photos. Like, they're a teenage girl's wet dream. Like, all these things, all these fever dreams that are crazy. But when you slow down and think about what the symbolism means with all of these shots that are placed in, it'll blow your mind. You know?
Well, it's like even we included just a few in here to talk about, like the skin room, for example.
Yeah, that I hate. But it's intentional and I wouldn't take it out. And why is the skin room there, Liz?
It's there to basically symbolize Kathy being trapped in her own skin. Guys, think it through. Yep. It's stuff like that I think by saying that the stuff exists for no reason, it's just there for shock value, is to take so much... It's like to take all the meaning out of it. Yeah. That's crazy.
And it's okay if it's both, but you can't say it's only one when it's both.
Yeah. One of my favorites, I didn't actually include here, but I'll just like chime in with it. What were the ceilings? Okay, so for any of you guys, we posted on our Instagram the Heathcliff hunch TM, okay? If we mentioned it, would you know what it meant? Most people didn't know what it meant. Okay, well, we've got Jacob Elordi, he's 6'5". They purposefully made the ceilings low in Wuthering Heights, the actual buildings.
Yeah.
So that whenever Heathcliff was inside, he would have to be hunched over, and it would make him look like he was out of place, unwanted, like the house itself was rejecting him. These are choices that aren't made out of nowhere for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, how cool if you're willing to sit there and like pick these things apart.
Yep.
Even just all the symbolism between the two houses themselves, all of the colors that you were pointing out, the color red, the end shot.
It's meant to invoke emotion, and that's what we are. And this is a gothic novel and a gothic film. And I think that's what people can forget with the shocking visuals that we see with the wet kneading of the bread. You know, it's meant to look like something else, and then it zooms out, and it's quiet and it's creepy, and it's meant to bring an element of horror that isn't blood and gore and heads getting ripped off. Yeah, and it does, and it stays with you, like the skin room, like so many things, like a spicy scene that we see that's a little bit more different than we would normally see in films, right? So it's meant to stick with you. And it's meant to create a feeling. The moors, hello. The wind, the wetness everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Okay, so going off of that, like, hopefully, you know, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you're listening to this because you're curious what we have to say about it, before you go into it, you know, a lot of the criticism that we're hearing in the book community right now is that this movie is basically being reduced to a movie just about sex, or as Ashley said before, quote unquote, a teenage girl's wet dream. It's being infantilized. Okay. I put here, like, much media that's created by or for women often is. Is this accurate or not? If not, is this damaging? Why is it inherently bad if that's, quote, all it is? Okay, so I think we should start there. So, like, first of all, if all this movie was sex for the female gaze or, quote unquote, a teenage girl's wet dream, what's so bad about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think
we need to we as a society need to first and foremost destigmatize that. There's not a problem with romance. There's not a problem with spicy stuff for the female gaze.
We don't have enough of it.
It's using as a dig. It's being used as a complaint when it's like those are the things though. That's not a problem, but it is a problem when that's not what it only is. That's what we're having a problem with.
So say problem again. Say
problem.
problem.
I have a lot of problems.
So, yeah, is there anything wrong with a movie that, like, I wish we'd make more movies that are sex for the female gaze just for the gratuitous enjoyment of it, right? I think the part that people are stuck on is that that's not necessarily what Emily Brontë was going for, right? Okay, well, I would have to agree as someone who read the book, right? There's no spicy scenes in the book.
Yeah.
Do I think it was inappropriate to add them? No. And I think that all of them existed for a reason.
Yeah.
For very important reasons. So, I personally think, and I think that you probably agree with me, that by reducing this adaptation that Emerald Fennell and Margot Robbie put together largely, right? To basically say, like, this is just, it's for looks, it's for show, it's for shock value, it's for sex, that's doing the same thing that we hate so much that is done all the time to high fantasy written by women when romance is inserted.
Yep.
That is not done to male authors.
Yep.
And that's how this feels.
This is how it feels.
It feels gross and icky, and I don't like how that feels.
Hey guys, so this is some of the stuff that I saw before we actually went and saw it ourselves. This movie's fanfic. This is interpretation based off just a feeling. Is that accurate? Well, hey, I'm here to tell you that is not what I took from it, so I was so confused. We went into the movie thinking, oh, everybody's saying this is just fanfic. So if that's what it is, great. Sign us up. Let's go.
Hey, we love a good fanfic. It's not trying to
be something else. It's saying what it is. But that's not what the movie people are saying. That's what people who saw the movie are saying, right? And when I go into it, and that wasn't at all what I took away, we've already talked about so many important things already just in the time we've had you guys here. And that doesn't even touch everything yet, right? This doesn't feel like just fanfic. This feels like so much more. Like I said, every shot is intentional. Everything is invoking something in you and causing such a ruckus.
Well, and why, if we decide, for anyone who watched our other episode, we rated it a 5-star and a 3 spice. A 3 spice, that's spicy, but it's not over the top by any means. It's nothing that we, would be shocked by at all. And so by adding that, and especially by adding it through the lens of the female gaze, where everything is consensual, everything is for essentially, like, whoever that female is in that scene, her pleasure. Why is it under such scrutiny now? Like, why are we scrutinizing it now? Why do we, as a book community, are we criticizing this choice as if we can't have a movie that is deep and introspective and an interesting interpretation of the original text that also has sex and romance in it?
It feels, and it also was like, and another thing, a lot of pearl clutching for no nudity. Literally. That's what was shocking to me, is the lack thereof.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be an escapade, if you know what I mean. Like, here we go, buckle up.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I was like, what? That's it? And it's also very female empowerment, and it's actually female pleasure, and oh wow, I haven't seen that on the big screen barely ever.
Yeah.
What? Guys, we gotta stop doing this to each other.
We should be able to have it all. All right, Ashley. Well, we're going to take a deep dive into this next section here that needs to be talked about because it's been getting a particularly immense amount of hate online. Yeah, and I feel like it needs to be said. Okay, so let's discuss women's pleasure, sexual representation, and consent, why this is important, and why the relationship with Isabella in particular, Heathcliff and Isabella's relationship, is so important when talking about these things.
Yeah.
Where to begin?
Exactly. So where to begin? I feel like we've already dove in at this point to women's pleasure and the representation with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about consent and specifically, let's talk about Isabella. Okay. We're all seeing the dog on the chain, you know, kind of.
It's been turned into a million memes.
Yeah, at this point, for better or worse, right? We're seeing a lot of hot takes out there that they destroyed Isabella's character from the book. They ruined her. She would never have chose that for her life. Well, let's talk about it.
Or they, this adaptation, the movie adaptation, did her a disservice by essentially taking what was portrayed in the book as an abusive relationship and making light of it, or basically like portraying it in a way where she like, you know, quote unquote, asks for her own abuse. And I think that, you know, Ashley and I talked a little bit about this in our last episode where we did the deep dive. But we're of the mind at this point that in the book version, we know so little about Isabella's character, aside from the fact that she's essentially confined to not just her, you know, station in life as a woman, but also, you know, by her brother and what he expects of her. You know, she has a stake in inheriting a significant amount of wealth because at this point, you know, Edgar doesn't have any children, so there's that. And she pretty much knows, this is all from the book, she pretty much knows what the rest of her life is probably going to look like. She lives in this, you know, pretty little box, this dollhouse with, you know, her brother, who it's kind of assumed will probably marry her off to someone at some point in time. And that's the life she'll live. And I liked, and I think that you liked also, the take that, you know, Emerald Fennell had on Isabella's character. Like, maybe we didn't see the whole story. Or, you know, maybe she, at least in that version, was fully aware that she was going to engage in a transactional relationship with Heathcliff that would benefit her as well. So it gave her a certain amount of agency in a situation that in the book version, she didn't have.
And a sense of free will.
For sure.
In a way. Yeah. So that's what we know also from the book. And also what we know from the book is that, you know, these people are very emotionally stunted. So maybe being an adult, but having the mindset of angsty teenagers running around and spiting each other and revenging each other. And, you know, as one would, Miss Little Isabella gets a little crushy crush on Heathcliff, right? And is made fun and poked at and like, you know, just, but who in most times in adolescence, even if it's an adolescent's mind or a young adult, is going to have a bit of rebellion.
For sure.
Pretty typical, I would say.
Have rebellion, but also just like, okay, so you're isolated. Your brother, this is the movie version, okay? You're isolated. Your brother is like, stay in the house, enjoy your ribbon room, play with your Pomeranian dog, and like, you know, she obviously is a very impassioned individual. You know, we see the whole scene of her really getting into and talking about Romeo and Juliet and really trying to share that with her brother, who's like, okay,
Who's stone-faced and like, yeah, just kind of not a great companion to be you know, releasing some of that passion onto.
Yeah, like he doesn't really care.
Yeah,
like he's listening
nothing's there.
maybe, but like isn't contributing at all to the conversation. You can see she's very passionate. For better or for worse, she's passionate about that. She, you know, becomes obsessed with Catherine when she moves in because she gets a new friend, right?
Yeah.
She's making her dolls and she made her the scrapbook and she's just commemorating their friendship and getting really super attached. And you can see in her personality. So what we do know is that she's a very impassioned individual, but she's also someone who, you know, is likely very emotionally stunted, has not experienced life outside of the confines of a very privileged life and a very sheltered life. And I think it's really interesting that in the movie adaptation, you know, we're seeing her in a completely different light that perhaps we weren't able to see through Nelly's eyes in the book version. Because we don't know.
Yeah, and I say like emotionally stunted, and you know, I'm throwing a lot of assumptions also onto her as someone who is older, like Nelly, who is like, oh, just like a young girl, you know what I mean? Even if it's a young adult, right? Just following whatever impassions that she gets herself into. So, but I like that adaptation from the movie where, like, let's see, what could that have actually looked like if you take away the bias from Nelly's perspective of seeing her as a younger sibling to Edgar.
Well, and what do we know, like, based on the movie version? We know all these things that we've already said, but we also know that it kind of seems a little bit like Isabella is a little obsessed with that star-crossed lovers story, with that Romeo and Juliet tragedy, with that really impassioned but toxic relationship, right? So who's to say that, you know, given the opportunity to engage in something like that with Heathcliff, she wouldn't go for it? If for any other reason, just to try to experience something like that for herself before she's married off to some old dusty dude, probably of not her choosing. Right? Yeah. And so, I don't know. I like that take. And, you know, as we went into this section talking about specifically consent, Heathcliff, there's a very specific, intentional scene all about consent with Isabella.
Multiple times, and done that such a way.
Yeah, I mean,
and then and the conversation continues on. It doesn't just stop there that one evening. It continues on.
Yeah,
right.
He's upfront about who he is, what his expectations are, how he will never love her like Catherine, how he will not be able to give her anything beyond, you know, maybe surface level physical affection. And he repeatedly asks her for her consent, knowing full well what she is getting into. And she chooses to agree.
In both the book and the movie, it is extremely obvious that everybody knows that Catherine and Heathcliff are obsessed with each other, including Isabella herself in both scenarios.
And her brother. And I think that's important, and that is something that we actually wrote down in this section as well, that Edgar is acting very similarly. However, his character is not seen as problematic. It's like he's engaging in this marriage with Catherine, knowing full well that she is in love with Heathcliff.
Yes, but he's gaining something from it, much like Isabella is.
Yeah.
But Edgar's not getting any hate for doing that, for marrying her anyways, even though it's obvious that they're in love, for continuing, for allowing an affair to go on for a while until he finally has had enough. In the book, too.
Yeah.
In both scenarios.
Yeah.
So, you know, Isabella's painted as this little damsel in distress that was taken, and that could be the case in the book. But it could also not be.
Yeah.
So, like, what would that look like? Because we are given limited information from Nelly's point of view, because Nelly isn't around her a lot.
Well, from Nelly's point of view,
the same way.
She runs off to go marry Heathcliff.
Yeah. And everybody also knows it's an act of revenge. You think Isabella doesn't know that he's trying to get to Catherine? Yeah. You think she's that delusional? I think that takes away and diminishes her as a human with brains.
Yeah, totally.
And eyes.
Brains and eyes. Yeah, I mean, literally, she knows. And she still chooses to go off and do that. Probably partially because she has a crush on Heathcliff, but probably partially because she's trying to break out of all of these boxes that she foresees having to live her entire life within.
Yeah.
The difference...
Why would she do that? Even in the book. Why would she do that?
Right.
These women have to think about their choices. I mean, as all people do. But we sometimes with the self-insertion forget that what would we also do if we were in Isabella's shoes, book or movie?
Yeah. So I think the big difference, that people are getting hung up on, at least in the book community discussion, is that obviously in the book version, Heathcliff then abuses her, at least from and through the eyes of Nelly. Okay, which obviously feeds into the fact that he is a villain. He basically is a villain at that point in the story. Okay. All right, so we accept that in the book version. We read it. We accept that she is being abused. She's trying to escape him. Eventually, she flees to London where she has his son, right? And we move on from there. Okay, but I feel like what's interesting about the movie adaptation is Emerald Fennell saying, well, what if that's not what happened?
Yeah.
What if Heathcliff presents her with this opportunity because he is trying to seek revenge a little bit? Okay, so okay, sure. She agrees to it, knowing full well what she's getting into. And then you fast forward to the scene where, they're showing her on all fours with the collar around her neck and the chain. And, as we talked about or may have mentioned earlier, they're hoping to stage that.
Yeah, they're staging it.
For Catherine.
Yeah, Heathcliff's, they're just chilling, thinking that she's ready to come soon. So, and Isabella's just chilling, acting like a dog, having a good time. It's some fun in her life. Give me a break. You
could tell that she's got a little bit of like a kinky side. Yeah,
Just like a little silly, silly time, whatever.
And I think it's an opportunistic situation for both of them, to the point where Heathcliff again. The imagery of him grabbing the end of that chain and throwing it on the floor to show Nelly that literally she can leave anytime she wants. She's not a prisoner here. I'm not holding her here. This is in the movie version, obviously. I think that's really important. Yeah. And we see that this is all part of a plan that they've orchestrated where he is not able to write. And so basically the transaction is you help me write letters to try to convince Catherine that your life here is so dire that she will come here so that I can see her. And in return, I will fulfill some of your physical fantasies. And it seems like it's working for both of them, honestly.
Yeah. I think people are raising over some of that are taking that away, that are, not looking at the full picture.
I don't think that, Fennell was trying to make light of a potentially abusive situation. I think that she was trying to rewrite her character to give her a bit more agency in that situation.
Right. And not even, I would even dare say not even rewrite, but like expand upon what we know and with a different perspective.
Totally.
Because what would you know? Okay, if you were in Nelly's shoes with the book, right? You come over, you see something, and you already have this jaded version of somebody in your mind because of all of your deep ingrained racist beliefs or classist beliefs or whatever it is, because she doesn't like him from the beginning. And you're putting two and two together as a woman in this situation, and you want to protect people and you want to protect your woman and your female friends as well, so you are obviously going to think that, especially because it's taboo even today.
Yeah, let alone in the 1800s.
So she couldn't possibly be wanting this, so
but what if she did? I think that's the thing.
What if she did?
But
and
what if
also she did? The importance of the representation and the way the consent was done is such a good way to do it. I feel, okay, it's wild that, like, I knew something was going on with that before seeing the movie. So I just expected, with all these little, like, things that I saw and little rumors about what was going on, I just expected it to be so crazy and, like, wow. And then, like, to see him with the whole consent scene, to see him with dropping the chain, like, to see them say, like, okay, Catherine's here, like, get in position. And it's Nelly, and they're like, oh, okay, well, no, and like, this isn't what's happening.
Yeah.
It was clear as day what was going on with that to me. Going back to the dollhouse, I just realized when you were talking, the symbolism in that. It's her life is a dollhouse.
Yeah.
Like, she's a little doll.
And she knows what to expect every day.
So people are like, what the heck's up with all these dolls and the dollhouses and stuff? It's like, well, it's extremely symbolic.
Yeah, for sure. She knows what's going to happen to her day in and day out and day in and day out forever.
Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, it might not mirror exactly what we read in the book, but at the same time, we have to sit there and think, like, how much do we really know about her character? And, like, literally, I'll just say it, like, back then, what would they even have the words to describe something like, you know, that type of, like, relationship?
Right.
Like, they might not know how to describe that kind of, like, dynamic in a relationship, you know?
And you wouldn't know if you could confine that in somebody like Nelly.
Yeah. Totally. Oh, yeah. You're supposed to talk. Oh, well, we're into a little, like, light BDSM. No judgment, though. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, come on. And we know that, you know, because we also see similar acts happening with Jacob and his girlfriend. Also in the whole scene where Heathcliff covers Kathy's eyes when she's seeing them, right?
Yeah.
And that was entirely consensual as well. And I think that, and I don't know how you felt about it. We actually haven't talked about this at all until right now, but I know going into that scene, I'm so unused to seeing scenes or movies or TV shows where all of those acts are for the female gaze, all of those acts are 100% consensual, that I was afraid we were going to see something really disturbing.
Yeah.
I immediately got, I don't want to say triggered because it didn't go that far, but I immediately got tense.
Yeah,
I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to know about it. It was going to make me freak out. And then when you realize, like, oh, everyone's having a good time.
Honestly, with all of it.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting because of all the pearl clutching that's been happening.
Well, not just the pearl clutching, but also with the normalization of that being what happens.
Yeah.
Always in popular media.
But you're right. We haven't talked about that yet, but yeah, exactly that. I was like tense, like, oh no, here we go.
Here we go. We're going to have to see.
And it was actually female pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone was good. Everyone was having a good old happy time, and she was into it, and he was into it, and it was great.
And also, I thought, okay, well, then that's going to be happening. Like, something's going to turn from Catherine and Heathcliff. And actually, he just protects her in a way, you know, and like pulls her away from the scene. Yeah. And that intensity in and of itself was enough.
Tension.
To get the tension going.
Yep.
Just another layer.
It's just another layer. But I think that it needs to be said that, yeah, literally I didn't think about that again until right now. But we are so programmed to expect that in our popular media that when it's almost like we can feel it in our body. And then in that second, when you realize that's not what's happening, we were able to relax.
That feels intentional to me.
Yeah, because it's so unusual. And being able to watch, I mean, just thinking about that now, being able to watch a movie and know I don't have to have that horrible feeling. I don't have to have that tension in my body. I can let my shoulders relax, knowing that I don't have to see something that's going to disturb me and trigger me. Like how...
In that way.
Yeah, like how freeing just is that? Because it's so rare. Like that right there within itself is huge.
Well, and I think that's something that I love so much about the horror element, not being about gore and rape and Yeah,
it's basically like we didn't have to, you can go into it knowing that you're not going to have to endure any scenes of non-consensual anything or, SA.
Yeah.
And that,
and how normalized it is and that this is getting the uproar.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I don't know. I feel like that says a lot right there. And then also, I do want to bring back up again, just so we make sure to cover it here. But the scene, in the beginning where you have, we talked about this in our last deep dive episode a bit, but where you do have Catherine running off, for we'll use self-pleasure and Heathcliff normalizing it.
Yeah.
That was also a huge big deal because it's not really ever addressed in popular media either.
Yeah.
So I feel like all those things really, they're layered and they're important.
Yeah.
And to make it just about gratuitous sex makes no sense to me. So I think that all of these things layered together are really important to see in popular media and in just in general, like in TV and movies, like what it's very freeing too, which I think is an important thing to note. Yeah. Do you have anything else that we feel like we missed on this topic? Because I feel like that's one of the reasons why this movie is getting so much criticism. And it's crazy to me that it's just like you said. It's like we can throw as much sex as we want into TV and movies, but then the second that it's for a woman's pleasure or for the female gaze, now it becomes problematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like that criticism isn't warranted.
We really need to like look at ourselves and think, why am I upset about this? Because we got to check our misogyny sometimes too, you know?
Well, and I think we need to understand that, like, if you enjoy that doesn't make you anti-intellectual either. Mm-hmm. Because that's another conversation that's going around too.
Yes.
Not just the same old problem that we've already talked about multiple times, about adding romance or sex into, we'll say a classic in this case or fantasy or whatever it might be. And somehow that diminishes the work. Yeah. That's obviously a common problem.
I would argue gladly, bring it on, with the people that are saying that it's anti-intellectualism. You have to look at everything within this film in the whole picture. And there's so much to talk about. All of it's intentional. Nothing is on accident. I mean, we've given you so many cases and points to this today, right? That every shot was intentional. It is not just, we saw a reference before filming this today. Like, it's just a Vanity Fair photo shoot. It's just a Wattpad. It's just Tumblr feed. It's like, okay, Vanity Fair, let's say an example of Vanity Fair is a good example that I completely can rebuttal. Vanity Fair also always has something to say. Every shot, usually. I mean, of course they're trying to sell you something, but a lot of times, back in the day at least, when Liz and I used to dissect the ads together, what are they trying to convey in this messaging, for better or worse, right? So every shot is intentional, and it is meant to cause and elicit an emotional reaction in you or to say something. The opening scene where we think, because it's intentionally marketed this way as well. And so that's why I think everybody that wants to say that romance is anti-intellectual is already ready, guns blazing, no matter what they're going to see on screen, because it's marketed in a way to be romance. And to them, that means it's negative, it's anti-intellectual. Because right out the gate of the opening scene, it sounds like somebody's having spicy time. And it's a guy getting hung. Like, hey, you don't think that's intentional?
Yeah.
It sets the tone.
It sets the tone. It makes
in a
you
different
feel,
way than people were expecting.
Well, and it makes you feel uncomfy right away, which is important. Like uncomfy in like a kind of, the horror undertones kind of way.
Yeah.
So I don't think that those things are empty.
Oh, this is just shot to be beautiful. Oh, this is just shot, which is also okay when that happens. But they're trying to say something. And oftentimes movies are a form of art. And oftentimes we need to look at, there's whole film classes dedicated to taking frames out of movies and saying, what are they trying to say in this frame? And this is going to be a piece. I don't care. I'm all say it. This piece is going to be studied.
For sure. Well, and it's also like, if we're talking about like the imagery and the symbolism and, the intentional colors chosen and shots chosen, then we also need to bring up the fact that it's like, people are saying that it's, it's a spectacle or it's, like beauty with no substance.
Yeah.
And I think that we kind of need to like maybe ask ourselves, like, okay, I come from a makeup artist background. Ashley does too. And both of us got into it because of the art part.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it gives us a big, kind of a different perspective. I think we need to ask ourselves, like, why when you want to make something beautiful, whether it's like, you know, makeup or any other type of artistic medium, when you want to make something beautiful, why does that have to suck all of the meaning out of it? Why all the soul out of it? Why are we then assuming that if it's beautiful, it's meaningless?
Yeah, that's dangerous thinking.
Yeah. Or if, you know, and then the reverse of that, right? If it's intellectualized, then it needs to not be as opulent and beautiful. It kind of seems like a strange dichotomy that's like completely unnecessary. And I don't know, I dare say completely fabricated by the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Yeah.
To make what we create as women less serious. And it bothers me.
You know what a lot of like long pan zoomed shots that I saw was recently? Frankenstein.
Interesting.
Interesting.
A
lot of gore too.
Yeah, lots of gore.
But a lot of things that were taken at liberty from an artistic perspective to do. But it wasn't met with criticism for that. It was meant how groundbreaking and beautiful and what an amazing shot.
And it was.
And it was.
And it is. But
just
so
as
can
Wuthering Heights. And there was a lot of symbolism and meaning within Frankenstein.
Yep.
So it was allowed to exist as both. So what's the difference is what I'm saying and what we're saying. What's the difference? Why must it now be it's like they take these things and you try to use it against us, and we need to make sure that's not allowed. It's not okay.
Yeah, it's the tale as old as time. It's recycled and regurgitated in every different way, but ultimately, in my opinion, it boils down to the same thing. It's like not taking it seriously for all of the reasons that women like it and relate to it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to be tense watching movies at the movie theater because I'm worried that I'm going to see a triggering scene.
Yeah.
Of that nature. And the fact that you can relax your shoulders during this because of the explicit consent given and just the way that everything is framed and filmed, like, should be a good thing.
Should be celebrated. And instead it's heavily criticized and parts removed and not discussed and instead flipped around. And I understand a part of the literary critique of the purists that want it to be the same as it was on page, especially for Isabella's story, you know? But, you know, again, we keep going back to, like, that's been done 35 times. And if that, like, for her story, right? So I think that this conversation is very important for modern times. Consent is a huge topic for a while now. And it's a topic, but that we haven't seen portrayed enough on screen.
Well, and in this case, not just consent, but also diverse sexual tastes.
Yeah.
Specifically for women.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't want to say it's always been okay for men to have the taste that they have, but at least behind closed doors, it's always been okay for men to have the taste that they have, right? Even behind closed doors, it's not been okay for women to have the taste that they have. And so to put that on screen, you know, whether you agree with that adaptation of Isabella's character or not, does have impact that's huge.
Yeah. Yep. And just like we talked about with Nelly, it's another opportunity for a female story to be told. And in this case, it is another example of classism. And even you're given all the things you want in life and you're put into this box and you're told you have to stay in that box. And now because you escaped that box, we are all going to criticize you for not staying in that box. So you can't ever win.
Is that what we're doing right now? Think about that. Yeah. So, okay. So let's...
Don't ever feel like we're yelling at you guys. We're just very impassioned about all of this.
Yeah. We're yelling out into the void so that hopefully some people feel seen. And if other people disagree with us, then they can bring some interesting conversation and different perspectives to the table.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's discuss Heathcliff as a villain.
Ooh.
Okay. In this version. specifically.
Yes. So there's a big takeaway, right? That they're romanticizing in a positive way this horrible, abusive love story.
Yes.
Heathcliff is a villain. He has no redeeming qualities. He has no excuse. Not that we should excuse abuse, but within this film, they're upset because he's not portrayed as a villain.
Okay, so here's the thing that's kind of interesting about the movie adaptation. I would argue that in this movie adaptation, Heathcliff is not yet a villain. First of all, does he do toxic relationship things?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So does Catherine.
Yep.
Okay? I'm not saying that their behavior is grade A relationship material behavior. Okay? That's like not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I don't agree with the fact that Heathcliff in the movie version that we saw is yet a villain. We've already talked about how this would be perhaps his villain origin story. Because in the book, we see in the very beginning of the book, Lockwood obviously goes to Wuthering Heights on his, has to stay the night and has the whole experience with Kathy's ghost and whatnot, okay? He meets Heathcliff, who is, older. This has already all happened in the past. He's already gone through his, I guess you could say, like, he's already become a villain because this is at the end of all of these events happening.
Yeah.
And then we go back in time through the point of view of Nelly telling the story to Lockwood about how Heathcliff has become what he now is. So that we get up to present day. That doesn't happen in the movie. In the movie, we don't get that. We start off with them as children and get to watch that linear progression.
Yeah.
It ends with Catherine's death.
Yeah. And that's when he snaps to me and goes in his full descent of madness.
Yeah.
So that stops there. So we're not going to see that yet.
Yeah, literally. So again, is he problematic? Yeah. Is he maybe not the greatest boyfriend? Yeah. Are they having an affair? Totally. Is this not a great relationship? Absolutely not a great relationship. Is he in the movie version doing the horrific things that we see him do later on? Or at least that he is perceived to have done through Nelly's eyes in the book version? No, we haven't seen him do any of those things. In the movie version, he's not abusing Isabella. Like, yeah, he's trying to get revenge. He's manipulative. Not great, but he is not abusing her. He doesn't hang her dog. Which was another, obviously major turning point, I feel like, in his character in the book version.
Yeah.
So I don't know that this movie is actually romanticizing Heathcliff's toxic, abusive behavior because he's not yet gotten to that point.
It shows the first half of the book as well. It's showing how the circumstances in which these people are being raised in makes them a villain and makes Heathcliff a villain, and it's not to excuse us, but we are to some extent a product of our surroundings and circumstances.
Well, yeah, he gets there somehow.
Yeah.
It's not like nothing happens to him and all of a sudden this is how he turns out.
And that is a tie-in to, in Catherine's story, at least, generational trauma.
Yeah, for sure.
Without having to have generations to show for it. Because you can see the abuse and the way that she's treated and everything like that and how it would continue.
Well, and how Heathcliff was treated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so I would say I personally would disagree with the fact that, yeah, Heathcliff is a villain in this version. I don't think that, Fennell is excusing his behavior or portraying him in a positive light intentionally. I think that's just how he would appear without the perspective of Nelly being put onto him. And then also without having seen him when he's 40 years old instead of, 20 years old or whatever, basically. We're getting cut off at that point. We don't know. He in this version, he might go insane and do something else. We don't know because it ends and it's over.
Yeah. And it is important, as you've mentioned, especially in our beginner's guide, how just because this isn't a positive love story doesn't mean it's not somebody's love story.
Oh, totally.
And how important that representation is and like how toxic it is and how, Catherine kind of got out in a way, right? You don't know what happens next. And so it's not trying to dilute that. It's just, you're just seeing that half of the story for that person's life.
Well, we're focusing on like a different part of the story, a different point in time. I think that's also important to note because it's like, what do we know? It's like that.
And also a different narrator. Like there's so many, it's like, this is the blueprint. No, this is the, not, what is that? And then she's filling in the blanks.
Oh, like the outline? Like a rough outline.
It's not a rough outline by any means, but like you take an outline of something and then you build upon it. It's almost like what's going on there.
Well, yeah, that's why it's an adaptation or interpretation.
That's a lot of movie adaptations that we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do that.
Well, it's like that, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but it was a miniseries on HBO with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain called Scenes from a Marriage. And I can't remember if it's 5 scenes or what it is. It was originally based on, I think, a play. But it's all about this married couple during the span of their marriage that's, let's say, 20 years long. And it's one scene. It's like each snippet is one scene pulled out of context.
Oh.
Out of a day in their marriage over the course of 20 years.
Yeah.
And so that's almost how this feels to me, like this movie. It's like we're pulling that time frame out and isolating it. And yeah, perhaps Heathcliff is abusive and is, a tyrant and is this terrible person. But at this point in time, in this little tiny capsule that we are seeing, maybe he hasn't become a villain yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of how I saw this movie.
Yeah.
Not to say that changes his character in the book at all, but it's important to note.
All right. So, Liz, is it under so much scrutiny because perhaps it was produced, written, and directed largely by women and depicts women at the center of the story?
I mean, at this point in time, it would be really hard for me to not believe that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
I like how you're like, yeah.
Exhibit A, whack. This is when I need one of the whackers with the things, with the boards, with the... You guys get it.
Or like a laser. Like a laser pointer. I think that there's a lot, and I haven't checked this since originally when this happened. Okay. But, and we don't have enough time with enough data at this point, so I'm just going off of what I know. But, okay, so for opening weekend, obviously we do know that Wuthering Heights became the #1 movie in the world. Which is great, right? That's awesome. So I decided to verify that because I had seen that floating around social media, like on posts or whatever. And I was like, oh, is that true? I don't know. So I had Googled, just typed into a basic Google search, like, is Wuthering Heights the #1 movie in the world? And it said, yes, Wuthering Heights, directed by Emerald Fennell, starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, is the #1 movie in the world for opening weekend. And it classified it specifically as a thriller. So here's the thing. Romance debate aside, I don't know that I would classify this as a thriller.
Horror, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Was it thrilling in that way?
It was just an odd choice, right? Because I was like, I feel like at this point in time,
that would be like a subgenre.
Yeah. Like,
sorry.
If you were to classify it, though, it's like, I feel like thriller wouldn't be what it was. So I was like, okay, well, that's weird. Well, I'm going to take it a step further then, because I feel like this is once again, erasure of romance being a legitimate genre, because heaven forbid a romance be the #1 movie in the world, right? Okay. So then I just decided to Google, what genre is Wuthering Heights, the movie by, Emerald Fennell 2026. And it said that it was I believe the way they phrased it was romantic drama. So I was like, okay, so when you Google what type of movie it is, it's classified as a romantic drama, but then when they're talking about it being the #1 movie in the world, they're classifying it as a thriller.
Hey, Liz, that's sus.
Literally. So I don't know. I mean, call us conspiracy theorists, but it sounds a little bit to me like this is the same problem that we keep encountering again and again and again since the dawn of time, that, hey, Emily Brontë probably was encountering back in the 1800s as well. I mean, see, not being able to even publish her book under her own name for the first 3 years that it was out, because it does get misclassified, not taken seriously, infantilized, not given the cred that it deserves, etc., etc., etc. And I have a hard time believing that has nothing to do with who wrote it, who directed it, who produced it, etc. I don't know.
Yeah.
We could be wrong. We could be wrong. I mean, it's true. We could totally be wrong. We could be delusional.
Let's talk about box office for a hot second.
All right.
And then we'll go into examples of when this hasn't been a problem.
Oh,
Okay. So let's talk about the box office. So we're filming right now on Monday, the 23rd. This went out on Friday. So we just got off of the second weekend of release.
Okay.
Right? So according to the second weekend of release right now, dates 20th to the 22nd of February, it was the second, top grossing of the weekend, still at 14 million, with GOAT, that animated film, at 17. However, with that said, Wuthering Heights is still overall for both weekends combined 60 million in total gross versus GOAT 58 million. So it was the second week for GOAT, and so they got up, right? A lot of us, my kids want to see it. I didn't even know it was out yet. So hey.
Yeah.
So Wuthering Heights still is good. I just think it's interesting little peek at what we want as a people and women want is part of this, I think, snapshot into the box office currently.
Well, otherwise the numbers wouldn't be there.
I can only imagine, okay, whatever that is. Isn't that it's like a music story? I see a guitar, okay? 8 million, total. Total gross 7.8. That doesn't make sense to me, but okay. Looks like our opening release weekend then. Whatever that is. Crime 101. So I think it's been out for a couple weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks it says here. Total gross 24 million. So who's Crime 101 probably typically geared for? We're generalizing, of course. But
yeah. It is definitely more geared towards a male audience for sure.
Send Help is number 5 still in the box office.
Which see
been
that
out for 4 weeks. And it has total gross 55 million already.
They'll probably call that some kind of freaky anomaly.
Yeah.
Even though, really?
Yeah. And then all the other ones, How to Make a Killing, 3 million,
the numbers are a lot lower.
Yeah, low. And then you get the people like Avatar that's been out forever, and they're just some random showing still.
Yeah.
So, hey.
So the numbers
people don't want this. People don't want these movies.
The ratings are terrible.
The money says different. The ratings say different.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Let's talk about when have, let's say, book to film adaptations gotten this much hate when written and directed by males? By men.
Should you just insert some cricket noises into here?
It's I'm going to get people that say, well, there was. But to this level?
Yeah, there's always criticism. There's always criticism on both sides. We get it, for sure. But really? When was the last time? I mean, we're a part of the book community, right? So it's we're aware of these book adaptations coming out.
I'm thinking, okay, recent Housemaid, right? People knew about, but it wasn't at this level. Right?
No. And just to play devil's advocate there, I mean, even obviously a woman wrote that, but the ending was completely changed.
And a male directed it. I know that already.
Yeah. And it's and I don't know that, I mean, I liked the ending in the movie better than the book ending anyway, but I'm just I don't know that people were really in an uproar over that.
How come people, I know Wuthering Heights is different than The Housemaid. I know, don't come for us, but we're just giving you a point of reference of recent years. But that ending was completely changed, right? It's still the same vibe, and we do believe that it did better, but it was changed. We don't want to spoil things, but watch that episode if you want to see it. So hey, yeah, it was a male who directed it. So okay, but let's go back even further. And of course, social media wasn't a thing at this time, but The Great Gatsby is one of Liz and I's favorites. We were there. Not when it was written, but when it was produced, right? It was the same story. We, as Wuthering Heights, we read it in high school, and then the movie came out, maybe 10 years later or something. We had seen the original
Yeah,
adaptation
something like
already. We loved it, consumed it, loved the Baz Luhrmann version so much, even though things were changed, including race issues, including body issues with Myrtle, going from somebody who was very unconventionally the poster girl of the time of the Roaring Twenties to somebody micro thin.
Which, yeah, I mean, we noticed that immediately.
We didn't even, when we did the reread last year, we were like, whoa, you know? So that is important as well.
Well,
So-
and it's dealing with a lot of the same themes. If you really like pick it apart, like me and Ashley were talking about this yesterday. It's like we're dealing with, you know, a lot of class disparity. Obviously, we're dealing with the juxtaposition of the two different literal houses or estates, whatever you want to call them. There's a love story, there's an affair, there's a major, you know, death, like all of these things. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. We were really pumped about this movie. We went and saw it in the theaters. We really loved the book. And I don't feel like it got the hate that this is getting. Or even the buzz that this is getting, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio, not some dinky little, like, whatever.
1 ton of awards, hands down, easy beasy, soundtracks, everything. That was one of those
What does that
movies
get
that
on Rotten
stayed.
Tomatoes? Can you look that up really quick?
Yeah.
I'd just be curious.
That was a movie that stayed, though.
Yeah.
And I didn't, wow.
Well, I mean, and you know, I brought this up on my own personal Instagram account because if we're talking relevancy as far as like time and social media, I guess, like buzz around it, if we really want to discuss it, to me, the closest thing in hype would have been the movie adaptation of Wicked, which still bothers me. I mean, you guys know, we deep dove all 5 of those books, okay? In anticipation of the second movie coming out, part 2. And we did an episode on the first movie, even before we had the deep dives coming out. You know, and if we really want to get into it, all those books are about are political issues. We're dealing with significant race issues, colonization issues, I mean, genocide. Like, we focus on animals in the play and the movies, but in the books, it's like the animals are a little piece. There's a lot more going on there. And that's basically what the entire book series is about.
Yeah.
So to, you know, if we want to talk that, then it's like, I don't feel like Wicked was getting the hate for essentially completely erasing the whole entire point of the book series to replace it with a love triangle and main characters that weren't even particularly that relevant in the whole book series as an entity.
Yeah.
To not
people
spoil
didn't,
anything.
People were not quite as much of an uproar with Fierro's character until I think later, maybe the second movie, maybe because more people have read it by then, but it wasn't at this level. And that was a huge issue with Fierro's character in Wicked as well, because you completely erased his story just as much as Heathcliff right now in this adaptation.
Yeah, so there's, I mean, yeah, so I guess and I get that women wrote the Wicked movies, but the play was adapted by Stephen Schwartz. The books were written by Gregory Maguire. It was produced by men. I feel like I don't know. Like I said before, conspiracy theorists, maybe. I mean, we're dealing with super high profile people, great, you know, actors and actresses that are also really popular. And the hate that Wicked got for completely basically taking an insane left turn away from the source material, like, wasn't even really a conversation in the book community that we were having at large.
Yeah.
Like, me and Ashley had it. I mean, we talked that thing to death.
Yeah.
But I mean, just scrolling through social media, it was like crickets out there.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems suspect to me, but maybe I'm just delusional.
No, it's weird, man.
Yeah. So,
and it's not to say these conversations shouldn't be happening, but it's like, let's keep the same energy. I think that's where we're coming from. It's like, listen, if we want to like pick apart all these things and make an uproar, we should be making sure that we're doing it when it's all genders producing this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's like, you know, a couple of people reached out and responded to my rant about Wicked, you know, and basically said, well, Wicked's not a classic. And I hear you and I understand, but to me, it almost seems like it should be easier for people to critique than a book like Wicked, because it did only come out 30 years ago. It's a lot more accessible. Mm-hmm. It was very popular for a really long time. Obviously,
also, hey, that's debatable, right? Because it's based off of Wizard of Oz, which is a classic.
True. Well, it's very different though from the original.
Yes.
But again, it's very different from the original source material. Sorry, my brain's exploding.
Yeah,
right
and
now.
people aren't freaking out about that. going off the rails from Wizard of Oz. You know?
It makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is even if we're going all the way back to the Wizard of Oz, what do we know? If you guys are curious, you can listen to our intro episode about this. What we know is that that book was largely inspired by political issues going on at the time as well.
Yeah.
Okay? So these things do not exist in a vacuum. And for some reason, no one's up in an uproar about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something to think about.
Okay, so how did The Great Gatsby do, Rotten Tomatoes wise? I wouldn't know.
Now, I mean, hey, if you're comparing tomatoes to tomatoes, then the reviews so far for Wuthering Heights is better.
Oh.
Tomato meter out of 305 reviews, 49%.
Okay.
The other one was 59%.
So there's hope for us. Yeah.
So
maybe
there's hope.
maybe you guys just don't like the movies we like. Hey, that's also a possibility.
Yeah. Of course. And then popcorn meter, 67%.
Okay.
Out of 77%.
So there's hope that Wuthering Heights will decline even more over time.
That's what it sounds like to me is going to happen, honestly, for real. You know?
Oh, man. Well, hey, everyone's different.
Let's look up Wicked. I know it's different because it's a musical, but hey, that was a choice to base the movies off of the musical.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's the thing, too. It's like, we get it.
Yeah, 88% and 95%.
Yeah. That's pretty high.
I would say so.
Yeah.
95%.
It's about as high as it gets, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, we understand that it was based off the musical and not the original text, but what you choose to put in the movie could still be even different. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you can incorporate different things to, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, that's the thing. Mm-hmm. So.
And obviously there's always going to be a debate with movie adaptations. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're not being in denial. We're not being, too laser focused on this one, but everybody else is. That's what we're saying. It's like there's not going to be a perfect movie adaptation. It doesn't exist. There's no way to take something that should take you 8 hours to read, start to finish, into 2 hours. It can't be done. How much of its soul is inside the movie is what counts. And for some reason, this book and this movie adaptation is just freaking everybody out. And it's just in an uproar. And it just feels, when you're comparing the other movie adaptations that we know that have taken a little liberty to go off the rails in a way, does not get this kind of criticism. Especially for these things that we've discussed.
Yeah, at least not as widespread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talk about the book community. We're in the book community, though.
Yeah.
This is another level that we have
the critics are always going to criticize. Like, we know that. Okay? Like, we don't care about that. Like, literally, we do not care. No. Like, I do not care. I do not base what I watch or like off of any of that information.
Literally.
Okay? Clearly. I think that what's got us wanting to dive into these topics is, the fact that our community that we align ourselves with, that we, are here for, to talk to you about these topics, it's like I post on my story, the call is coming from inside the house. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we need to make sure that we're like looking at where our own internalized biases are as well. And are we making sure that we're not perpetuating all of the same problems that Emily Brontë would have dealt with in her day, releasing a book of this kind of controversial nature on Emerald Fennell and her movie adaptation. Mm-hmm. Hey,
totally.
What I told Ashley yesterday, I think if Emily Brontë could sit in the theater and watch this adaptation, I think she'd like it. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Yeah.
If that makes you mad, but I feel like she would be like, wow, what an awesome way to depict this crazy story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does it tell the whole story? Is it different? You know, it's like, yeah, obviously it's different.
Is the soul there? That's what's important for movie adaptations to me. Does it feel like an extension of the novel or a visual representation? Or in Wuthering Heights' case, does it feel like, oh, this could be a different point of view from, that goes away from what Nelly's point of view that was shared? Like, let's look at the piece as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that brings us to a really interesting question then. Can an artistic interpretation and political and social commentary not coexist?
Like, when has that been a problem? I mean, Great Gatsby is a perfect example. That thing had rap music, like everything. Like,
what about Romeo and Juliet, guys?
Romeo and Juliet, you know?
I mean, hello. If you want to really be critical about that one, I know a lot of people struggle. It's like, what, the whole entire movie is still in iambic pentameter, but it's updated and modern. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like, and we're still dealing with the same, like, as you say, the soul is the same, right? And if nothing else, it could get a lot more people into that story that might not be able to identify it with it otherwise in the much more complicated and somewhat dusty version.
Yeah.
So there's that. So my hope for us as a book community is that we can see that an artistic interpretation can, in fact, include political and social commentary, and hey, maybe even a bonus, a little bit of romance too.
Yeah.
And not lose credibility.
Yeah. And I think what I also love about Wuthering Heights, this adaptation too, is there's so many people that we talk to that are reeling, for better or worse, or having to like sit back and like really think about it after a few days, you know? Like they're still thinking about it because so much coexists within that film. And I feel like it's almost like maybe people are having a hard time taking it in because it's so much, and it isn't, you can only consume it one time, and you need to read the text, and we need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It adds to the canon of available media under that umbrella, under that Wuthering Heights umbrella.
I mean, something that probably hasn't been said enough with Wuthering Heights as a text, as a book, this isn't accessible for everybody.
Right,
this is
correct.
a hard read.
True.
I had to some parts needed immersive reading in there because it's different. So if this gets people in a way, we do have to give credit where credit is due sometimes to book adaptations, that like, if this is a way to get someone inspired to try, because maybe at least visualizing the characters are hard. Okay? There's a lot of elements going on that it's brain work, you know? And so we can't come around and have this elitist point of view with our books that we then stop people from wanting to read it.
Yeah, totally. It's like you're alienating an entire like group of people who may now not want to read it because it's like when we were reading Harry Potter. It's like, okay, first of all, Ashley and I are typically not like influenced by like, we're not going to listen to like external sources about what to read and what not to read, generally speaking.
Yeah.
We're not really those types of people. We're going to do what we want to do. But not everyone functions that way. Yeah. And so, for example, like when we were reading and covering Harry Potter, that fandom was really harsh to us. Out of all the fandoms that we have encountered, Twilight, you know, like all the big ones, Hunger Games, for sure, hands down, the Harry Potter fandom was like, you guys obviously don't understand it. Read it again. You didn't get it. You know, all these and some more rude than that comments. That in no way, shape, or form would ever in a million years convince me to A, want to be part of that fandom.
Yeah.
And then B, to want to reread or try to get into the source material anymore. That's just an example. But I think that it's important as people in the book community, however big or small your platform is, to encourage people to want to read more.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that like why we're here?
Yeah.
Literally. And if you're going to judge someone for liking the movie that the book is based on because it's not purist enough for you, or you find it to be too problematic, it's okay for you to have those feelings, but then to shun people from the community because of that is not okay.
You kind of need to check yourself before, you
wreck yourself.
Before you kind of need to check yourself before you wreck yourself and everyone around you like a bomb, because, you have somebody coming off of the movie and they're all amped and pumped and like, oh, that was great. And you're like, it's nothing like the book. And saying it in such a tone, we're seeing a lot of comments, we're seeing a lot of hot takes, and everybody's valid to their opinions, but we also do have a responsibility as a person to, not take the wind out of somebody's sails when it's going to get them to read. Mm-hmm. In that regard, who cares? Like, you enjoyed the book? Hey, or you enjoyed the movie? Hey, the book is a little different. There's a way to frame it, right? Where we're not being condescending and elitist and putting up a wall for people and saying, well, if you liked that, you won't. No.
Well, why not let them figure it out for themselves?
Let them figure it out.
Maybe they won't.
Try.
Maybe they won't like it as much once they read the book, because they'll love the book so much that they realize that the movie isn't what they expected. Maybe vice versa will happen. But how about we let people discover that for themselves and then have a conversation about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like that's very important.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming off of that, Ashley, why don't
we had some caffeine, so if we feel more invigorated,
it's because we are.
It's because we are. We had Alani's. You guys saw it. You guys saw our Alani journey. Okay, where are we?
Well, we are in. Hey, why don't you tell us what the tagline of the movie was, and then maybe do a little bit of explaining.
Okay, so was the movie misrepresented as the greatest love story of all time, or can romance, love, and all these issues coexist? The person is political. Romance is political. Like it or not, it's just a fact. Is that what Bronte was getting at? And was Fennell accurately depicting it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we talked about that a little bit before, but it's this idea that love story, love, romance, relationships in general cannot exist outside of politics and the systems in which we live and function within. Okay, so greatest love story of all time. Hey, why don't you explain that to us?
Hey guys, what's the definition of great? Is it only good? Because that is the debate. A lot of people want to it's not a love story. It's not romance because it's not some happily ever after.
Or it bait and switched you with a tagline that was misrepresentative of the actual source material or the context of the movie.
Sure, but need I remind you, great does not always mean good.
Interesting.
Highly versatile adjective with several distinctions, okay? So I'm reading off of the Webster's dictionary, whatever. Substantial, large in size, right? Great. Also, immense, vast, colossal, okay? Mm-hmm. Also, eminent, distinguished in character. Illustrious, renowned, noble. Crucial in importance. This is a big one to me. Significant, paramount. Or exceptional in quality, superb, fantastic. So it can be taken that way, but it can be taken all these other ways. So I think that was cheeky of them to call it the catchphrase, a greatest love story of all time. So it is greatest in that it is it is immense, it is vast, it is renowned, it is significant, it is paramount. Doesn't necessarily mean it's superb. Doesn't mean it's fantastic.
But crucial in importance.
But it is crucial in importance.
I think that's a huge part of it. Crucial in importance because of all of these different things that she's breaking down, Bronte or Fennell, depending on what you're looking at, both, that they're breaking down. It's like, they're using these two highly dysfunctional but highly in love people to tell a bigger story about society. And I think that falls under the category of great for better or for worse. I think that's the thing.
Yeah. And as a society who constantly is falling into rage bait traps, what is a media PR team gonna do but make it a little cheeky? So it is, right? It is great in the way that we're seeing the definition of, but then people are going to take it as greatest love story, Gone with the Wind, beautiful, So therefore, I can't be mad at it for that personally, because it gets people watching it who might not have. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's false advertising, right? Going back to Housemaid, is that the media that was going around behind that for people that didn't read the books was like, ooh, what's this going to be? Because they were on the red carpet seeming very love triangle-y.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Very sexualized
Yeah.
for the male gaze. Mm-hmm. So we didn't hear crap for the way that was represented.
Yeah. And that wasn't a great time for the ladies involved.
No, not at all.
Not a great time. Not a great time.
That felt more bait and switchy to me.
It's like, hey, if you want to take it literally, then take it literally. Look up the dictionary definition.
Yeah, that's all we're telling you right now. That's all we're saying. And it's so, I mean, I know a lot of you guys like are agreeing all these things, but sometimes it's nice to like hear them out loud, you know?
Or to know that like maybe that thing that you thought that then you went online and saw that so many people were upset or against.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. I was just fidgeting.
Okay. I was like, what's going on?
I'm just
I thought you were trying to
spazzing.
send me a hand signal.
I'm just spazzing.
But yeah, anything, you know, maybe you felt really strongly about something and you went online and people are, you know, very against the way that you felt and you don't feel empowered to like say it. Even if it's just something really small, like you guys know that great can mean something other than just really good, you know, and positive, you know, then hopefully it helps you feel a little bit more seen too.
Yeah.
So,
and hopefully we're bringing some alternate perspectives. That's also a goal that we have with this episode is like, let's think about it from some different angles here.
last thing on the docket. What do we think? Did Emerald Fennell intentionally try to go for the level of scandalousness that Emily Brontë elicited in the 1800s? Was that an intentional choice? Were all these decisions made so that she could be that bitch this time?
Yeah, I think that's so poetic. Let's think about that. Let's just marinate, guys. Like, hello? Dude, Emily Brontë, man, was marked with so much criticism.
Yeah, no. It was very, very poorly received because of just how dysfunctional these people are and how scandalous it was. And just, you know, how could this be written and then published?
And yeah, because a lot of this stuff is supposed to be tight-lipped, closed door. Like, you're not supposed to talk about your issues.
Yeah. Yeah. So just something to think about as we kind of like wind down and end this episode. We know that there are tons of topics to cover. We know that we cannot cover them all. We know that we ourselves have our own blind spots and biases. At, like, things that maybe never even crossed our minds. And while we're talking, you guys are thinking like, oh my God, SOS, like there's this big thing that you guys are missing. If that's the case, send us a DM, send us a comment. Like, this is to open that conversation. And as I said before, and Ashley made fun of me, you know, it might even warrant another episode later on down the line at some point. Just once we get a little bit of distance between this conversation, we're able to maybe rewatch the movie a time or two and see what we have to bring to the table.
Yeah.
You know, and like literally this is like keeping me up at night because I wish I could talk to these two women and ask them like what what was going on in their heads, why they made the choices they made, etc. But we can't do that. So all we can do is just talk to each other about it.
Well, golly.
Here we are.
So yeah, we haven't watched it a million times. We've watched it once.
We haven't read it a million times. We've read it once.
And that's gonna happen more. Liz already, like I said, cleared my schedule. I have to do all of this until the end of time. Hope you guys are ready. No, we just, in a way, but like, no, we will be consuming more of this in time and we'll reconvene, and we might not have said everything as eloquently and perfectly as we want to say, and there's still more to marinate on, and we're gonna miss stuff. Our goal of this episode is also just to give another alternate perspective and add, like we said, our hat into the ring here of opinions, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, and just to get and keep the conversations going in a way that, you know, hopefully doesn't feel alienating to people either, because it's like we want to be able to agree and disagree and add things in to the conversation while also encouraging people to be here and to read. And that is the point lots of times of these, especially classic older texts, is to pick them apart if you want to, and so choose with a fine-tooth comb to try to figure out what was being said here.
Yeah.
And I feel like lots of times film gives us the opportunity to do the same thing. And that's really special.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for sitting in with us with these 3 episodes so far covering Wuthering Heights. in case you missed it, we'll be having a reading guide coming up real soon for Pride and Prejudice. So we'll be diving into that. And then, of course, as far as right now, just our typical, because it's been out for a while.
Yep.
Movie versus book. And talking all about that. And then, of course, our normal Tuesday episodes, we have Gilded...
Plated Prisoner going on right now, and other fun things. We're going to Romanticycon. We'll be there right now when this film goes out. So if you're at Romanticycon, you made it this far, what are you doing? Come see us. We're here in LA. So check it out. That's what we'll be doing. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything else you feel like we need to say? No, I feel like that's good for now. And
good for now.
We'll talk to you about it again at a further time.
Any chance we get. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe, follow everywhere you like to listen to favorite podcasts. Before you go, find us on Instagram, TikTok. We're Besties in the Books podcast everywhere. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.